Hello and welcome again to my YouTube channel, The Elites. On The Elites, I speak to issues around education, leadership, innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship, right? With huge doses of spirituality. So today I'm going to be speaking about how to sell yourself or anything. Basically, for you to succeed in life, for you to blow, for things to pop for you, most times you need to step out of your comfort zone, right? You need to take some steps that you ordinarily not take because nothing is going to move until you make a move, right? If you watch Big Brother Niger, usually when they come into the house, the first 2, 3 days, you find some people that are very, very conservative, not wanting to talk to anybody, not wanting to blend. But as the eviction begins to happen, people begin to loosen up and begin to show their true colors. And that's pretty much how life is. You might think that this is who your person is, but sometimes for you to succeed, you need to turn on survival mode, right? And survival mode, you need to push yourself beyond your natural limits. So the same thing when you're trying to sell anything or you're trying to sell yourself to anyone, sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone. I always tell people that most people who commit suicide, for example, or people who give up on life or things like that, they stopped buying the idea that tomorrow will be a better day. So technically, all of us are salespeople, right? Whether you work as a marketing and salesperson or you are applying for a job, at the moment you're submitting your CV, you're also still selling yourself. You're talking to someone, trying to convince someone to do something for you, maybe do a favor for you or bring something from one point to another. You're still selling yourself, right? So sales is something that everybody has to learn. It's a natural gift that needs to be harnessed. And even though you don't have too much of that skill, sometimes for things to pop for you, you need to put yourself on that survival mode and actually come out of the shell and sell. And that's the reason why this particular conversation we're about to have today is very important. So basically, to sell yourself or sell anything to anyone, there are three very important things you need to put into consideration, right? And those things are going to help you to make sales. Either you are selling fast-moving consumable goods or you are selling considered purchases. Considered purchases are like very heavy budget things. For example, you are buying a real estate, you are buying a yacht, you are buying an aircraft. All those things, usually in the loop, they are usually at least before now, there used to be like 7 people in the loop. But with all the economic crisis and all of that, we have up to like between 9 and 14 people in the loop to make that kind of decision. So, for example, if you wanted to buy something worth 500 naira, 1,000 naira, even 10,000 naira, you could make impulsive decisions. You could just stop by, oh, this thing is 10,000, just pay for it because I mean it's not so much an amount of money. But if you want to buy a yacht, you have to do your due diligence. You have to consult people, especially if you are working in an organization. You have to write memos up and down. The board has to sit. Usually, the board is made up of at least 5 people and things like that. You have to do a lot of talking. You have to do a lot of convincing before you make that decision, right? Even in your marital life, between you and your wife, there are some things that you can buy on impulse, and there are some things that you have to really, really consider critically before you make those decisions. So that is good for you at the receiving end. But what about if you have to make sales to people in that kind of space? For example, you want to make sales to someone, you want to sell a yacht or you want to sell an aircraft to someone, you have to, figure out how to convince all the people within the loop. But this is what I just want to tell you. First of all, whether you're selling fast-moving consumable goods or you're selling considered purchases, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same idea. It's pretty much the same concept. The difference is just the number of people, right? And then how you can scale the impact that you have on one person on the other people who are also within that loop of decision making, right? So what are the three things that you need to consider? That's what this video is all about. The first one you need to consider is, what action do I want these people to take? It's not every time you close a sale immediately. Sometimes in your framework, you already have an idea of what you want to do. You have a part where you just want to convince them or you want to create an awareness, for example. Just like the very popular marketing and sales framework that people use, the AIDA, right? There's a stage for awareness, there's a stage for interest, there's a stage for helping people to make decisions, and there's a stage for action. So at the moment where you are meeting those people, right, the people you are trying to sell to, what action do you want them to take? Do you just want them to be informed? Do you want them to go and consider it? Do you want them to take a decision immediately? Or do you want them to take an action immediately? What do you want them to do? What action do you want them to take? Understanding that would actually help you know how to arrange your pitch, what to say, how to close it, how to conclude, and all of that. The next thing you need to also consider is, who are the people that you want to take action? One of the things I realized is that not everybody on the board actually has the influence to take a decision in your favor. Let me give you a good example. So, for example, you work into some organizations, you discover that the people that stress you the most are the people that don't have power to make any or effect any change. The people who make the decisions, who close the deal, who conclude the whole matter are usually just behind the scenes waiting for a brief overview of everything you want to do. So one of your major responsibilities as a sales and marketing person is to discover who the decision makers are within an organization. When you discover who the decision makers are, those are the people that you focus your energy on, knowing what they want, right? And then being able to put that in front of them. For example, you can't convince a monkey that honey is sweeter than banana. So if you are going to be talking to a monkey, you need to be talking to the monkey and dangling the banana in front of the monkey and not honey, right? So that needs to be understood. Then the third thing is, how do you want them to feel? How do you intend to make them feel confident about taking that decision? Everybody actually goes through what we call buyer's guilt. What buyer's guilt is or buyer's remorse is, after someone has bought a particular good, product or service, there's always tendency for the person to feel guilty about that decision. For example, you paid some amount of money for something, and then you now realize that I've actually spent a lot of money, or this good or this service is actually not worth the investment of my money or forgo other alternatives for this particular thing, and you begin to feel guilty. That can actually affect future sales, right? So what you need to do in that case is you need to ensure that, okay, you figure as a salesperson, how do I want this person to feel? And you begin to work on it and begin to, put all of that in your pitch, put all of that in your presentation, and then that's how you go about it. So basically, the summary of everything I've said so far is to understand how to sell yourself, how to sell any idea. The truth of the matter is that before anybody takes any action, buying a good, a service, or an idea, they already have an impression, or they have a perspective to which they see that thing. Your responsibility as a salesperson is to help to amplify the good about what you're trying to sell and to help to shape that perspective in your favor to buy or to purchase that thing which you want them to purchase or to buy. So basically, those are the three things you need to consider. Thank you so much for being part of today's conversation. If you have any questions you want to discuss further on this, you can actually reach out to me through any of my social media platforms. I'm at Jaye Networks on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Telegram, everywhere as at Jaye Networks. Or you send me an email at jaye@thebusinessapple.com. Have you subscribed to my YouTube channel? You can subscribe now, like, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next episode. Thank you. Till I come your way next time. Remain blessed.